Hey guys, this is Alan from In the Game Room. This episode is going to be a little bit different. We did an audio podcast today, me and my buddy Chris, and what I'm going to do is just sort of put that audio into this so that I can share it on YouTube as well. So 99% of this episode is just going to be audio, but there'll be a couple of parts where we're talking about something and I'll just pop up a picture of it so you can see it. But otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of audio in this one. So hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for listening. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Hey guys, welcome to the In the Game Room podcast, audio edition, episode number 19. Well, we're going to try something a little bit different tonight because, as I've mentioned in the past, doing these audio podcasts for me are a little bit difficult when I'm by myself because I'm just kind of talking at the microphone for the whole time. And that's not really it's not conversational. It's not easy to do. The video podcasts for me are easier to do alone because I'm usually demonstrating something or showing you guys something. So it feels a little more interactive. So like I said, I've been having a little trouble trying to figure out what I want to do with the audio podcast. And I think I've finally settled on a way to kind of rejuvenate this and bring it back to life. And that is going to be to have other people on with me, usually over the phone or Skype or something like that. So tonight, in this episode, we're going to do almost an hour with my good friend Chris, who's the guy I play Bolt Action with most of the time, and he helps me out at the conventions and things like that. So great friend of mine, and he's going to call in, or I'm going to call him, however it works, and we're going to see how this goes. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Please leave me some feedback on inthegameroom.com on the blog. Let me know if you like this, and if you want to hear more of this, if you want me to get other guests, multiple guests, all of that is possible in the future. So let's just get into this and see what happens.
Hello.
Hey man, what's going on?
Hey, what are you up to?
Podcasting, I hope. Well, let's start talking about we'll start off with some Bolt Action stuff, and then we'll get into some other things that aren't specifically Bolt Action so we don't lose everybody. But
all right,
in our emails back and forth and messages and whatnot, you mentioned a couple of things that we are doing wrong when we play, and I'm not surprised at all. So
hey, just so we can start off with, it's still a lot of fun.
It's still a lot of fun. We just suck at it.
Right.
So
hopefully the rules, learning the rules better will help us, have even more fun, I guess.
Exactly right. So one of the first things you mentioned was that we're doing the assault or close quarters wrong. What are we doing wrong?
Well, and I haven't had a chance to get totally caught up on it, but oh man, you're killing me here. It was all not. I don't want to say all of it, but obviously the first part, right, where we declare a target. I move in or you move in. You react first.
Right. If I haven't already issued an order, I think.
Correct, and I believe that's still correct.
Right.
I read through the rules completely once. Almost immediately after we played, and that was 2 weeks ago. And, with what I do for work and all of that, I read a ton. So I usually have to read something 3 or 4 times to completely absorb it.
Right.
But I'm not supposed to move in until you've had a chance to react. And that's the first thing.
Right.
Is I measure the distance to make sure I can attack, right, or make sure I can assault. And then you get your shots off.
Right.
And if I can still continue, which, specifically for the IJA, the Japanese, I can. But for other units that aren't equipped like the Japanese army, they may not be able to continue the assault.
Okay.
And so that was one thing. And it's not so much important for you when you and I play, when I play the Japanese and you play whoever you're playing, because I'm usually assaulting you.
Right.
But it is something that we need to note when, because I'm also building the British Army. It's probably something to note when we, get down to 2 armies that aren't equipped to have great assaults like that.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm looking at the rule now. It's on page 75 of the book, and it says, declare targets number 1, measure the move distance is number 2, and then target reacts, and then you move.
Yeah, and then I move.
Yeah.
And then my attack is with whatever I have left. And that part was right. And it is just semantics, even though I can still come in and assault with the Japanese rule. But it's still something we should follow that rule so that we're in that habit. And that was the first thing that I saw. I was like, well, I'm moving in immediately and then giving him a chance. And although, again, with me playing the Japanese army and you playing your army, I still get to move in and you still get to take your shots first, and I still remove my casualties, but we're not doing it in the turn sequence that it should be done in, so that we're remembering how things work when we play different armies.
Right.
And I think so if we ever go to a tournament or we ever play against someone else and I choose to
somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right. or I play one of your armies. I mean, you've got a massive German army. If I do that and I'm still, and maybe it's more for me, right, is because I don't have to, I mean, with, again, my rule, that doesn't matter. But it is something that I need to be in the habit of doing so that when I get into a tournament, like, hold on, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm not supposed to be doing that. And, I'm going to embarrass myself enough in the tournament. I certainly don't need to do it because I don't know the rules.
Right.
Well,
I could see where this sequence of events would make a big difference if you were, say, 11 inches away. You could still advance and attack, but you might be more than half range away from me if I've got SMGs or shotguns or something like that. So that could affect it could affect my ability to shoot you. Where normally I was like waiting till you got in close. It was virtually point blank then, so there was no penalty for distance.
Right, and that's also sorry, that's also something else, and I didn't think of it until you're just now saying it. But you're right. If I am 11 inches away. And that's kind of a tactic that I should start adopting. Is make sure I'm staying with what I can eyeball at, I would guess that it would probably be anywhere from 7 inches or further away, so that if you do have SMGs, which, most of your tough fighters are going to have something like a close quarter combat weapon or an assault weapon.
Yeah, the Marines and stuff.
If I stay that far away, then that weapon is useless against me. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back.
It won't
because
be
now it's hitting me again. They fire whenever I'm in range, so they all still get to shoot. I saw that somewhere.
Oh, okay. But
I actually saw that somewhere.
But I wonder if they fire when you're. Yeah, it's going to be a little tricky. We'll have to look into that a lot further. But at least we know we're doing it wrong, and that's what's important.
Right.
Okay, so we'll have to study that in detail, especially.
All right, so here's the rule. It says, however, right, it's going on about how you're supposed to shoot before I move, but then it continues with, however, even weapons that are out of range count as in range and can shoot, applying the long range to hit. Oh, okay. So it would just be a +1, but you'd still get to shoot them. And this represents the waiting for the assault model to be within range. So, the guy with the SMG is going to know, well, I can't shoot that far. I need to wait till they get closer. Or the guy with the pistol's like, there's no way I'm going to hit them, that far away. I need to wait for them to get closer. And so that is absolutely, you do get to roll all your dice, but there is a modifier on anything that is long range. Right. Okay. All right. We'll have to work on that and, do some more like mock-ups of assaults and things and figure that out. The next thing that I was noticing is that when we roll 6s, I don't think we were rolling again. In an assault, if you roll a 6, and you have the what was that rule again? Tough fighter. Yeah. Right. If you have tough fighter, any 6s are rolled again. Right. And you could potentially score a second hit. Right. Off that same target. Yeah, same attacker. Yeah, I've been aware of that rule too, but I think we just been forgetting about it. Like many of the rules, we just forget when we're playing because we're having too much fun. We get wrapped up in the game. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the other thing,
really simple thing that probably everybody's going to just laugh at us for not doing this, but I don't think we've been passing order checks and taking away a pin. I think sometimes we've been forgetting to do that.
Yes, and the one, and this adds to another one of the things I'm like, oh my gosh, we're doing this wrong, is that when I was moving as the Japanese, I wouldn't have to roll, but anytime I take a bonsai charge, I do actually remove a pin, just one.
Right.
I don't get that like I'm rolling double zeros, but I do get to remove one pin. I don't have to roll for morale, but I do get to move that one pin every time I do a bonsai charge.
Right.
And so I remember when you had, I'm trying to think, I think it was your snipers. I went in and got your snipers, and then I bonsai charged your spotter, or maybe not your spotter, but those dudes on the corner. But I wasn't removing the pins. Now that didn't matter so much because I was bonsai charging everything. But if we went back into a long range combat, and I think honestly I stopped shooting long range and I was just charging.
Right.
The rest of the game is, and it worked for me at that, for that specific game. But in future games, maybe it is a quick charge and then I pull back. But it's important that I lose that pin because it could potentially, limit me in shooting long range or even at range and not doing a bonsai charge. So,
well, you're going to be playing these Japanese guys a lot, so you better get those rules down pat.
I got to get those rules down pat. Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing that we did wrong in the last game is both of us had artillery spotters for our mortars, and
correct.
They were both behind hard cover, and they were both small unit. So there's a -3 to hit right there. But we did not also consider that artillery and mortar spotters are always considered to be down. So that's another -2 to hit. They were virtually unhittable. If they were down in hard cover and small unit, it was 8s to hit them. So
which I don't, and then that's one of the rules we have to read up on. I know that if it takes a 7 to hit, if you roll a 6 upon a 6, I believe that's a hit. I don't know that if it's an 8. I don't know. Do you have to roll 4 dice to see if you get
There's nothing for an 8. The only thing that those guys could have been hit with, and what I was trying to do, was other artillery, other mortar, because then all this down and hard cover has no effect. But for shooting at them, they were completely unhittable.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. So they were invincible. So we did that wrong.
Well, then it kind of makes it. Are you gonna, indirect fire their spotter, or are you gonna go after their folks?
Yeah, and I think I went after your spotter with my mortar, and I don't know if I got him or not, but I thought, I got to get rid of that guy first. And that's what I
and I think we were shooting at him first, and then I think I did ultimately climb up to that building and assault your spotter.
Because that's what you do.
Because that's what I do. But it is. I think it is. It might be a prime target.
Oh, yeah.
Until the guys start. Well, but then again, I look at it as I want to pin as much as I can, before your team gets close or close enough to shoot. Because I mean, yes, as an army, the Japanese army are effective as regular army, but I do my most damage, and I found that I am most successful when I move every single turn. Every single turn I run, I have to charge you. That seems to be the best way to play the Japanese. But that's going to become a crutch because I am building that British army. I've got to find another way to do, to work.
Yeah.
And so as I'm looking at that, I don't know that I want to. I mean, yes, I can focus on the spotter, but what about the rest of the army that's coming?
Yeah, you have to think about it like, yeah, this guy up there on the top of the building, he's causing me a lot of heartache. But meanwhile, there's 40 other guys running across the battlefield that I need to think about. So yeah.
And maybe it's if you're not focusing on my fixed target, like my mortars, right? If you're not focusing on my mortar, then maybe I don't worry about your spotters so much, because if I keep moving, as long as I've moved 2 inches, my last unit has moved 2 inches away from the starting point where you fixed in, I think I'm good. I think you have to start over again. So as long as I'm moving, I'm okay. But again, that only plays into one army. I mean, I'm building another army, and I've got to change the way that I think. I think I've spent too much time thinking about how to play the Japanese, and not enough time is, at some point I want to play another army.
Yeah, well, that's part of the fun of it. You get to study a couple of different types of scenarios, and I mean different forces and how they fight. You'll just learn what to do with each, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the things
there'll be a lot of failure.
Well, of course, why not? It's what we do. One of the other podcasts I was listening to actually said something that after I heard it, I was like, oh, it's so simple. I should have known this. But they were talking about when you have a mortar, firing the mortar should be the last order die you pull for that turn. So even if you miss, on the next turn, the very first order die you pull should be the mortar. So now you're taking your second shot before that unit has time to move.
Okay, wait, explain that again.
Okay, say we're in turn number 1. I pulled my last order die. That should go as a fire order to my mortar. I fire, I miss, I don't roll a 6. Now, turn 2, the very first order die I pull should be a fire order for the mortar to fire on the same target before he has a chance to move.
That's okay.
And I'm like, duh, of course, but I never thought of that.
Yeah, it is. It is one of those simple rules. And I never thought of that. I mean, absolutely.
It's just a smart tactic, because you can.
It is a smart tactic.
And maybe by this time you've got two pins on that target, and now they're less effective. So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about if you have a mortar or artillery.
You never should have told me that.
So it's all good. I'm going to do it so you can do it.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow, that's amazing. That's a good tip. That's a good tip. I like that.
Yeah. So what else we got here? Another thing, I don't think we've even run into this. I don't think we've ever had a unit that is down and stays down to the next turn. I don't think we've ever done that, have we?
No.
Because it is an option. But I wasn't aware, or I'd forgotten or something, that a down unit that stays down at the end of the turn takes D3 pins off for staying down. So one, 2, or 3 pins can be removed. It's almost like a rally. But
it is, yeah.
But about half as effective. But that's interesting too, and that's.
But you don't have to roll on it, so it's a guaranteed 1, 2, or 3.
It's a 1, 2, or 3. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're down, let's say you've got 1 or 2 pins, I mean, it might be worth it to do that, because the odds are, I mean, you're definitely going to get 1 taken away, but I would say your odds are pretty good that you could lose 2.
Now on a rally order you still roll, but you roll unmodified morale, right?
Correct.
Like if you got a 9, it's a 9, no matter how many pins you have. So yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to try to figure out which would be more effective. But at least that option's there. So what else is on our list of things? Do you have it in front of you?
I do. And it was one that I'm actually interested. I mean, I'm interested in all of this, but I found it amusing when you said, hey, what about this topic? And it is, why are ruined buildings, and all of them, the backs are blown off and not the front? It's not like everybody's aiming for the back of a building.
Right. Yeah.
And you said you have an answer, so I want to hear that.
I have an answer. As the guy that designs the buildings and makes them,
correct.
I think that the front of the building has all the windows, and it's the coolest looking. So I try to keep as much of that intact as possible and blow out the backside, basically. And that's really the one and only reason. I just think they look cooler that way. But the fact that you brought up this question has made me go like, well, yeah, that's kind of stupid. They should be. I should have some buildings where, you know, there's a bit of the back wall left and almost none of the front, or, you know, maybe the sides are gone. I need to work on changing that up a little, because it has been just because I think they look cooler that way. And there's more windows in the front where you can shoot out through and stuff. But
right,
there might be a blown up building that's just useless to us in the game, except maybe to hide behind.
Well, I think that, and I've done a little, you know, I mean, I love looking at what's new and what's coming out, and I throw you like, hey, have you seen this? Or, hey, have you seen that? And you do the same thing with me.
Right.
I don't see a lot of front of buildings blown out, and it might be kind of cool to have a building where, you know, like the bottom floor, the front of the building is blown out, but maybe the second and third floor exist.
Right.
As the front facade. And I think that to me, it's comical, and maybe it could even take away some of the realism. But if you have like a permanent board that you've built, and a mortar goes off in Main Street, it'd be cool to see the front of the buildings blown off, and maybe a little more detail on the back side of the building.
Right, yeah. Or the building took an HE round from a tank or an anti-tank gun or something.
Right. Yeah. And it went off on the second floor or the first floor or the third floor, whatever. But that whole floor or parts of that front and back and maybe the sides, who knows, but you can still make it a tactical position, but make it the second floor. You're not going to get the same cover as the third floor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every building shouldn't be like the perfect tactical cover, you know.
No.
You should just, you have to work with what's there, and I should mix it up a little more, and I think I will.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
So.
And in that I was, I'm amazed at you know, we talk, and you know, I'm backing up on what I'm saying, right? Is why aren't the fronts blown off? But then I look at some of the stuff that you produce, especially the new one that you've just thrown out, is that Saving Private Ryan bell tower.
Right.
Like that's beautiful.
Yeah,
and it's got a great front facade, but some of it is missing.
Right. Yeah, and that's the reason why I did that one the way it looks, is because that's pretty much the only angle you ever see it from in the movie. So that was the only angle that I had all the information I needed to make that side. If you went around the corner on that building and you looked at that other side, there's bits of that I just guessed on because there are no photos of that. So that's why the front of that building has all the detail. But yeah,
and looking at that picture, I don't because you send me so many behind the scenes things. Not only am I a customer, but I'm a buddy, so
right.
I get to see a lot of this stuff and the progress of it and what you're using for reference. And I don't know if you shared with everybody on your site as an open, you know, like, hey, this is what it's supposed to look like, and this is what I've built. But I mean, it looks like dead on what it should look like.
Yeah, I think I pretty much nailed it. I don't have any, you know, dimensions to go off or anything like that. It was just all photos and, you know, from weird angles. But yeah, I tried really hard to, you know, capture the exact flavor of that building. And it has some weird architectural features that I don't even understand. And I just wonder if some prop guy just went off random and, you know, did some...
Yeah, it's crazy because it has the rounded archways as well as a standard, you know, early 19th century windows with the square bottom and the round, and then the big circle on the above the door. I mean, it's
right.
You're right. It's almost like somebody said, "Oh, that looks kind of cool," and they took it from, you know, the Middle East, and then, "Oh, this looks cool, so I'm going to take it from Europe," and, "Oh, this looks cool, and you take it from, you know, Asia or whatever." And it's just it's crazy.
And the trim around all the windows and doors and stuff, they look like gears. It's just the oddest thing I've never seen before, but that's what they did.
Did you capture that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I haven't seen it in person.
Oh well, you will soon. Yeah, it's came out pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it on your site right now.
Yeah,
I love the bell tower itself, where it's just the I don't know what you call them, the slats or the struts or the support, but the cross beams and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's like something blew up and blew the shingles off of it or something.
Yeah, I'm actually going to put a couple of random shingles still hanging on my model, but that wasn't something that I could produce as part of the kit very easily. So that was just left off. And the back of that, the very top bell tower area, the back of that's all blown away. I don't think it was so much in the movie, but I had to come up with a way to get your guys in and out and get your hands in there.
Right.
So I blew away quite a bit of the back of it.
Back side of it, where on the where you have your two, I don't know, are those Americans sticking out of there?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were Marines, actually.
The back side of that. Oh, were they? Okay. The back side of it. How are they? I mean, can you access the back of this with your folks, with your troops on every level?
No,
some of the windows look really dark.
Not on every level. What could happen with that is if you took the back of the tower and not glued it on, just left it removable, you could glue a couple of floors in there. But I didn't think that was going to be like a real big deal, because I think most people, if they play this, they're going to play it at the beginning of the game. The sniper's already up there.
Yeah.
And just go from there.
Yeah, the one picture that you have on their site where it shows the front, where you can see the two Marines sitting in there, that just is a really good looking picture. It just looks, it looks thematic. It's really nice.
I think if you scroll far enough through the pictures, you'll see there's probably one or two, I think, of the actual building from the movie. I think, it's the very last picture. The very last picture shows.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it kind of shows what it looks like.
Okay, so it is on your site. So that answered my question after that 10-minute tirade.
I try to do that if the building is like, if it's a real building in real life, or if it's from a movie or something. I try to show like, hey, this is what we're doing here.
I kind of like what you did, where you basically have all of the pieces laid out, and I don't know if that's the CAD drawing or what, but it shows the pieces.
Yeah.
That you have. That's a nice touch. I like that.
Yeah, I had to come up with some kind of like instruction manual, and I didn't really want to do like a step by step by step. So I laid out all the pieces, numbered and lettered them, and then I took several pictures of the finished model and put the corresponding letters and numbers on the photo so people could just see where the parts go. And I think that's good enough for, it looks like a really complex kit, but actually it's super easy to put together.
Well, that's kind of your style. You do put things together pretty easily.
Yeah, it's easy for me because I designed it. I hope it's easy for everybody else, but we'll find out pretty soon here. So speaking of the Private Ryan, this particular building, the church tower, is the first in a series for me, I think, because I want to do a whole game board of that region, like everything from like the river and the bridge into the town up to the bell tower, and play a scenario where the Germans roll in with a couple of tanks and the Americans are sitting there waiting for them. I think that would be really fun.
That would be awesome. So you got to try and protect the bridge, but if you can't,
it's the Alamo. It's where they where they retreat to. So I'm working. I don't think I'm going to talk about it much here because I'm still working on it. But I am working on a special bolt action rule for the sticky bombs that they used in the movie.
Right.
So
I read through your first draft, and we need to talk about that more. But
I think it's going to work. It's just we need to play test it and see if it's not effective at all or if it's too effective. And we need, and I need to throw in more variables. I think, like I put in there something about when the men charge the tank, there needs to be a die roll to see if they actually succeed, because they could drop the thing, they could trip and fall, it could blow up in their hands, So, it actually happened in the movie, I think, more than once. I think one of the guys got blown up. So not only do we need to come up with some kind of die roll to make sure it happens, but if it doesn't happen, I think we need a second die roll to find out the result of that. Did the guy die in the attempt, or did he just fall down and trip and get up and run back? So I don't want it to get too complicated, but it needs to. I want to try to capture how it actually happened in the movie and try to translate that into the game somehow. We'll see how that goes.
When I was reading through the rules at initial glance, and maybe you don't want to get too far into this, but and you can edit that out if you'd like, but I was thinking it was a little too powerful. But you're also talking about, you know, some sort of die roll. Maybe it's a morale check, and, you know, maybe if they foobar, it just blows them up.
Yeah. Well, there will be the morale check, of course, because it's basically a fire order. And then, like I say, maybe the roll to see if they even succeed, you know, without tripping over their own shoelaces. And then on top of that is the actual, you know, rolling for penetration, like if it was an anti-tank weapon. So there's about 3 chances for it not to happen. And then if it doesn't happen, there's maybe that extra chance of what happens to the guy that tried to do it. Did he blow himself up?
Right.
So, yeah, we'll have to try it out a couple of times and see. You know, it should be successful sometimes, but maybe not all the time.
Right.
And then,
yeah, that's good. That'll be fun to play test it for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely try that out pretty soon. So, how is your Japanese army coming along?
It is coming along. I think the last time you and I were together, you had built that troop transport for me, which I love it. I was even showing my son, and he's like, "I want one too." I'm like, "All right, well, you know, we got to build an army first, and then we'll talk about it."
No, he wants the box, and then he's going to fill it with your.
Yeah, he wants the box, and then he'll fill it, right?
Yeah, with your wallet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's a beautiful box, and I've done the clear coating on it. I think I've done 3 treatments on it, so I think it's going to be pretty rugged. I built the last box and treated it 3 times. I've got the dividers in it, so it looks amazing. So I'm happy. But what I was working on, and what you and I were talking about, was magnetizing my mortar team. Right. And my machine gun team. And so what I thought I would do is I have permanently glued one person to the mortar base and one person to the machine gun base, and that what represents the last man.
Right.
And then the other 2, I've actually used those clear coated. You created those clear coat discs with the hole in the middle so that I can magnetize that base as well. That's working out really well.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it's beautiful. I messed up on one of the magnets, and it's reverse polarity, and so now the guy jumps off the base instead of sits on the base.
I'm okay with that.
But, you know,
that's a failed morale check.
That's a failed morale check. But it's going to look really good. I had scraped off the base, because those were pretty much based and the machine gun was based and ready to go, but I scraped off the base so that I could, you know, get a better feel of how deep I need it to be once I put the base coating back on, because the first one I sunk too low. I had to drill that out. You know, it's been a work in progress, and it's going to turn out. I mean, it's not going to be as great as your buddies, but it's going to look good. It's going to work good. So I think it's progress. I still have 70 dudes to paint. So I've got their uniforms painted, but I haven't gotten much further than that. I still need to do the accents, the belts, and the pouches, and the guns and all of that. But yeah, I was just looking at that task, and that's 70, and maybe that's the downside of, you know, I get these great, you know, Army rules, but the downside is I've got to paint, you know, 90 some odd folks, and that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. I'm struggling with the 30 SS guys that I just got.
Oh, those look amazing.
Well, you've only seen one, because only one is done out of 30.
Well, that one looks amazing. Let's see what the 30th one looks like, right?
Exactly, yeah. I might be just painting one color by then. We'll see.
But what's cool about this is I remember you, when we first got into this, you bought the, what was that? the Band of Brothers box.
Right, right.
And I had a really good time painting it was Airborne, right? Yeah, Airborne.
Right, yeah.
I enjoyed it. There was a lot of accents. There's a lot of different things to do. It was fun. And you're like, when you were done with yours, you're like, all right, well, I'm done. I'm done painting Germans. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because it was like a coat of paint. It was simple. It was easy. It was, one or two colors and you were done.
Yeah. And I could have got a little fancier with them, but for some reason at that time, I personally just couldn't get into it. It was like, it felt a little bit like a job, like I got to get through this because I wanted them done and I wanted to play. But now I think I've lightened up a little bit, and I've got enough figures now that I don't need to get something done to play. Now it's becoming more fun.
Okay.
And of course,
I just remember that you saying like, "Oh, this is killing me."
And of course, the SS guys, while they're complete son of a bitches, in real life, they did have snappy uniforms and very cool colors.
Those are really nice looking uniforms. I love the paint job that you did.
Yeah, we'll see if I can keep that up. And I know that all the guys within a group don't always have to have the same uniforms and same camouflage and stuff. They got mixed up, but I'm still going to try to do all of them exactly the same and see how that goes.
I found that I'm doing the Airborne, the IJA Airborne that I've been doing a bunch of research on, and I bought the Jungle. I'm trying to think what they were called. Anyway, the Jungle guys.
They're the IJA vets, right? They were veterans.
Yeah, the veteran Jungle guys.
Yeah, those guys.
That I'm turning into. Yeah, those guys. I'm turning them into that Airborne unit that I've been reading up on, the IJA Airborne unit, and I was counting the colors. I showed you the one guy that I painted, and I'm counting the colors, and I think I'm at 9.
Wow.
That's not including the wash. Just
right.
nine colors. And the one guy turned out really good. I just realized, as I'm sitting here, I was starting to work on them before we got on the podcast, and I started to realize, like, okay, well, I've got, 16 more dudes to paint like this. So I'm just going to production line it. I think I'm going to go with the camo that I was doing. I think I'm going to do, instead of the gray, I think I'm going to go black. And it was based off of your comments that you were posting about the SS Germans that you were doing is it looks better bold. It sticks out. It may not be historically accurate,
right?
But it shows the detail, the level of detail, the amount of time that you've put into building, these models. And so I kind of want to do that. Is once I wash this guy, it almost, if you're not looking, you can't tell he's done some camo on his own uniform. And that was kind of one of the things that I really liked about that army, is that they camouflaged their own uniforms. They did whatever they wanted.
Right.
Camoed them.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
Yeah, I was a little let down actually after that first SS guy. After I put the wash on, I was like, oh, all that work I did on the camouflage, and you don't see it as well now. But I've gotten used to it, and I like it again. But initially, it was like, oh, why did I do that? And I can't see it now.
I think it looks really good, especially the bright green that you have sitting out. I think it looks really amazing.
Well, cool, because I'm going to do the rest of them like that. So,
yeah,
cool.
So I've been starting to research my my British troops a little bit to figure out what I'm going to do with them. But what army or what division I'm going to model them after.
Well, it'll be
fun.
It'll be good when you get the British done, because then I'll have somebody to play against my new SS guys.
Yes.
So
that's not going to be quite as many. I think I'm only doing 60 British or something like that.
That's okay. So far, I've only got 30 SS guys. Well, and the original ones that I got from Tim, I've got his SS. Those
right.
those dirty Nazis. I've got his too. So actually, I will have quite a few.
Well, it's a game. It's okay to play the Nazis.
I guess so.
You don't
yeah.
have to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
It's a game, right?
Yeah. We'll see. That's a topic for another day.
Probably, or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
That might not be a public topic.
Whoop! The hell.
So, yeah, it's you know what? It's work giving me a call.
Oh well.
So,
too bad. You're busy. You're busy podcasting.
I'm busy podcasting.
Well, we've gone 40 minutes already. There's one last thing I wanted to just touch on for a second. That's kind of it's bolt action related, but I think other people might be able to kind of relate as well. And that is my new favorite tank.
You have a new favorite tank?
I have a new favorite tank, yeah. And it was one nobody would probably think of because it's just a little shitty little tank. It's the M5 Stuart. It's in bolt action. It's a light tank. It's got a light anti-tank gun, so it's pretty much useless as a tank. But if you just think about it as a machine gun carrier, it's amazing.
So it's like every other Japanese tank.
Yeah, it's like a Japanese tank because it's got a coaxial medium machine gun. It's got a front what's that mount they call that in the front? Not pintle mount, hull mount. It's got a hull mount medium machine gun. So we're up to two medium machine guns now, which by the way is 10 dice. And
oh my gosh,
as an option, a heavy machine gun like a 50 cal on the pintle mount. So for those keeping score at home, that's 14 dice. Just a quick note here, the HMG actually only adds 3 more dice, not 4, so we're up to 13 instead of 14. And then the main gun, which is pretty much useless. But I'm looking at this thinking, first of all, with the 50 cal, it's 160 points. It's not expensive.
No.
And since it's a tank on an open full run, it can move 18 inches. Imagine getting 18 inches up the board before your opponent even moves. And on the next move, you move 9 on an advance, and you're in range of your enemy with 14 dice coming at them.
Wow.
I think it's pretty cool. I'm not a fan of the big, huge, expensive tanks because unless you're fighting tank to tank, they don't really do much. But I'm looking at this thing for 160 points going, that's an ass load of machine guns that move fast.
And because I don't play tanks, how many of those dice do you get to roll at once?
14. 13, actually. Because you're got the hull mounted machine gun, which is one guy down there doing that. You've got your pintle mounted HMG. That's a separate guy up in the cupola. And then you've got your main gunner firing the coaxial machine gun. So you can fire all 3 machine guns at once. The only thing you can't fire... The only thing you can't fire together is the main gun and the coaxial, because that's one gunner, one gun. He's got to pick one or the other. So
yeah, I don't want you playing that tank.
Well, too damn bad. I'm thinking about writing up a list that includes 2 of them, and just a couple of squads of guys. So it'll be a tank heavy list, but I think for around 500 points, I can get 2 tanks on the board. With some guys, you're looking at 320 points in tanks, and then another 180 points in men, about 18 men, 18 regulars. Could be an interesting little experiment.
Oh my gosh!
But I mean, it's a lot of firepower that can get pinned out or pinned, suppressed, whatever, destroyed.
Well, it might be time for me to purchase a couple of those, what is that, Type 92 tankette, the Japanese tank, the little...
Yeah.
It looks like an armored car almost.
Might be about the same thing. It might be just a little crappy little vehicle with a whole bunch of firepower.
Yeah, it's 90 points regular, and it has a turret-mounted HMG and a forward-facing MMG.
Okay. So you're at 5, 6, 7. You're nine dice right there. The funny thing
That's
is
not so
that
bad.
the funny thing is that the HMG really doesn't do anything for you in the game. It doesn't do anything more than an MMG. The only thing it does is has anti-armor penetration. But if you're fighting infantry, you're actually better off with more medium machine guns because you get an extra die, an extra 2 die actually, and they have the same range. So because the tank models I have of the Stuart come from Rubicon, and they come with the coaxial, they come with the hull mounted. But for the pintle mount machine gun, they have another 30 cal up there, which is a medium. But I couldn't put that on there because the bolt action rules don't allow for 3 mediums. It's 2 mediums and a heavy. So I'm actually building mine specifically
and what's the
for
damage
the list.
value on that?
On the 50 cal?
No, on your little tank is.
Oh, the tank.
The damage value is the armor. Isn't that
so
the armor on
yeah,
it?
the armor value is 8. It's not bad.
Okay. I think mine's 7. So.
And the little anti-tank gun, which I probably never use, has a penetration of 4, which is pretty bad. But it can also fire HE with a 1-inch template.
Jeez.
So that's not bad. So yeah, I think that might be my favorite new tank. I just have to get a couple of them together and try them out.
Do you have them?
I have one that I painted a couple of months ago. It's just been sitting in my my collection, and then I just put another one together last night so I can have 2.
Nice. What does that one cost? Not the price, but the point value.
It's 160 with the heavy machine gun, 135 without.
Wow.
So for 135, you still get 10 dice. Just on the 2 medium machine guns.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
No, not bad at all. I think it'd be fun to play around with it. But like I was saying, the only downside is if one gets knocked out, that's a good portion of your firepower gone.
Yeah.
But maybe it doesn't get knocked out. Maybe it stays 36 inches away from you and just keeps firing.
Well, then my little stick fighters or my
The suicide tank.
my suicide tank guys will come and pay you a visit.
Well, they got a lot of running to do. 3 turns to get to me.
Yeah.
Because if I'm firing at 36 inches, yeah, that's 3 turns of running.
Yeah, that's 3 turns. That's a lot of dice. That's
Yeah,
a lot of dice coming my way.
So we'll have to give that a try.
Wow.
So
I don't like that at all.
it's not designed for you to like. So there you have
All
it.
right. There you have it.
Well, if there's anybody listening to this, period, end of sentence. No, if there's anybody listening to this that's in the Southern California area, there's a couple of events coming up that you might need to know about, and I'm going to be there. San Diego Historical Games Convention is November 11th and 12th, which is a week from this coming weekend, and they're having a bolt action tournament on Sunday. And the Las Vegas Open in January, the 26th through the 28th, is having a bolt action tournament on Saturday. And for some reason, it's listed on the calendar as bolt action tournament day 1. But there's nothing on Sunday that says day 2, so I don't know if it's a 1-day or a 2-day thing. But those 2 things are coming up, and I'll be at both of those.
Are you dealing, or are you going to be a dealer, or are you actually going to play?
I'm just going to
visit?
go and play. Both of them have tournaments that you have to sign up for in advance and have your armies approved in advance and all this. I think I'm late for all that, but I'm just going to show up and hope there's some open gaming or start my own. I'll bring my shit and see what happens.
Are you ready for that? Are you ready for a tournament?
No, I don't think I'm
an actual tournament.
No. Well, I'm ready to lose.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's just part of playing the game.
No, I'm not ready.
I mean, for you anyway, not for me.
Right, of course. No, I mean, I've got enough miniatures to get into like a 1,000-point tournament or something. That's easy, but I don't have ready-made armies already figured out lists and I'm not that good, which I don't care about. I don't care if I go to a tournament and lose.
No, that doesn't matter at all.
But
it's about playing the game.
But it would be nice to have a chance.
Yeah, no, and I keep thinking like it would be fun to do a tourney, but then I'm like, well, I don't know that. I think I would be slowing down the guy that I'm playing because I don't understand the rules enough.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a pickup game at an event or something, but getting into an actual tournament, I think I'm still a little like, I think I'm going to slow the game down more than I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to be feeling bad that, you know, some guy that knows every single rule is waiting on me to figure out what I'm going to do next.
Well, there is one tournament coming up that we should probably talk about, me and you, because it's going to be at the convention in LA in February. And I think it's going to be like a kind of low key, not super competitive. It's going to be a memorial tournament for Tim, and
Right.
That's something we should probably think about doing. I don't know how the logistics would happen with me having a booth there and having to work. You know, maybe if you're there, maybe we could take turns, you know, kind of tag team playing in the tournament or something. We could, you know, we'll think about it.
You do have more employees now than you've ever had. So
That's true. That's true. I have to drag one of them there with me and just have them work.
yeah,
That's a possibility too. I think if I gave Hayden like a weekend away in Los Angeles, he'd be happy to man the booth for a while.
yeah.
So we'll see.
It might not be a bad idea. At least, you know, one day, and then he can have one day to play, or who knows, you know.
Yeah, I think I might have to approach him with that and see what he thinks. Because yeah, it sure would be nice, especially if you were there, if we could go like as a team and just get into this tournament
Right.
and lose together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm down with that.
And I'm more comfortable. I think
Right.
I'd be more comfortable with, you know, like the local group, the guys I know, you know, rather than like going to Vegas and just playing against a bunch of people I've never met before.
Right.
You know how I get.
Well, I feel the same way. As I'd much rather play against folks, you know, for my first couple of or games, like official games. I'd rather play against people that I know or people that I've talked to, rather than getting into an official tournament.
Yeah,
And
people that won't be mean and say bad things.
that's right. That's important.
Right on. Okay, well, I think we've covered everything. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. All right, guys. Well, that was it. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that, and really want to say thanks a lot to my best friend Chris for coming on with me and doing this with me. I think we're going to do quite a few more of these in the future. This one here was really, really bolt action heavy. In the future, we'll try to branch out into some other areas. I've got some ideas for other guys to bring into the conversation, and they don't play bolt action, so we'll be talking about a lot of different things with those guys. So I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments at inthegameroom.com. Give me any kind of pointers, feedback, ideas, suggestions, gripes, complaints, whatever you got. Give it to me. So thanks a lot for listening, and until next time, keep on gaming.